in ritardo. Okay, we are live. I don't know, maybe someone check from home if everything is working. No, we just see the screens. Few fixes, and then we wait also some other people maybe joining, and we start. Do you hear me? So you hear me, but you don't see me. Sounds good. Okay, fully working now. Okay, but can we have? No, we cannot have both the camera and the slides. Yes. Okay, it's like this. Okay, no worries. Delay is fine. And okay, so you see both the screen and the slides, me and the slides.
It's delayed, so now they do, but you still don't see.
Ah, okay. Okay.
No, possible.
Come?
La gente quasi in gente.
Okay, perfetto. Okay, all set. We can start. Welcome everybody to the Bitcoin Design Challenge. It's the first edition of this event. First design challenge we organized with Bitpolito, so we are very excited to attract designers and creative people in general in this space, which is very needed. So I'm gonna, first of all, present a bit Bitcoin for the ones that don't know much about it, to give you a bit of context about the technology, but as you will see, it's not just technology. And then we will deep dive into the challenges tracks and a few other guidelines to participate correctly. Okay, so first of all, who is Bitpolito? For the ones that don't know us, we are a student team. We have more than 50 active members. It's like the average in the last, let's say, 3 years. The team exists since 6 years. And it has as a goal to bridge the university and the Bitcoin industry. So we want to bring talents, particularly from the Polytechnic of Turin, to the Bitcoin industry. And we have more than 20 people, former members or still active members that now works in the Bitcoin industry. And we're very proud of that, of course. Me, I'm Emile. I used to be the Bitpolito vice president. I was in the team for 3 years. I just left, but as you can see, I'm still helping a bit. And yeah, let's go. Then we'll do a few other words on the background. So why Bitcoin? Well, we need Bitcoin because, as you probably are feeling today, it doesn't matter where you live or what's your status. Let's say I think that mostly everyone can see that. Prices are rising every day or every year. We have a lot of bad news about continuous financial crisis, and it seems that everything also due to maybe a few wars and then other external causes. We have this feeling of being all the time in a huge crisis and don't know much how to. We don't know what to do. And like, for example, we had a lot of big banks failures. This is just from US in the last 25 years, let's say. And this is the symptom of a whole system which is deeply based on debt and money printing, let's say. So there are a few central banks, we will see a bit more later, few central banks that can print money out of nothing, and while they print more money, the more they print, the less the money value, because you can imagine money like the piece of papers you have in your wallet as a unit of a total wealth. And so the more unit you print, like by printing new units, you're not creating new wealth. You're just splitting wealth on more units. So what happens is that when monetary expansions goes up, precisely like proportionated, the purchasing power of that money goes down. And you probably have heard about hyperinflation or eventually hyperinflation in exotic countries like, I don't know, Turkey or Argentina or Nigeria or many others, but also dollar and euro, which are the like the fiat currencies, let's say the better fiat currencies in this sense. They also lost a lot of value in the last 55 years. So if you take dollars, it's a 50%. So it means that you have you can buy half of the stuff that you can do 25 years ago with the same $100. That's because fiat money, which means so fiat money is the one that is issued by governments, and it's based on the law that says that this money is the legal tender in this country, and you must accept it and use this money to trades. And it's so it's a kind of a imposition from a government, which is based on the trust on that government. So as long as this government has trust, people are keeping using the money that the government is printing. And so you have this central bank that is it's a monopoly, and it's the only one that can print this money. And then you have private commercial banks that they ask money for, they receive money from the central banks, and they actually are the one that creates the new money. Because I don't know if you know, but when you go to the bank and ask for a loan, when the bank gives you the loan, it's literally creating money out of nothing. Because now, I mean, since a while, there is this another huge problem of the economic system we live in, which is called fractional reserve. So banks, you can imagine that I go to the bank, I give them $100, and they give money to other people. They give the same money to the other people. Okay, this is false. So the banks take money, but now they can borrow as much money as they want. So there's no one-on-one ratio between how much wealth they hold and how much money they borrow. And this tends to what we see, to big crises, collapses, because people is using like money that it's, I mean, it almost doesn't exist in some terms. Yeah, the consequences of having this system, which is also, of course, super centralized, it's that especially the more the money becomes digital instead of having physical cash, these banks can have a control on who have this money. Because at the end, when you, on your bank account, the number you see, it's just a credit you have with the bank. And it's a number on a database, and that's it. And so if you do something bad, and there are many examples of this, bad for the governments that are, let's say, where these banks are, you can have very bad consequences. So eventually you will see your bank account frozen, your money taken away, and there is also this problem of surveillance. So being digital, the banks know everything about where you spend money, how much, on what, and so on. And this is very bad, because if you think, spending money is the strongest way, let's say, the strongest form of freedom of speech. Because if you think about it, when you buy something, you are communicating to the market where you attribute value. So you are saying that for me, these things has this price is the good price for the things I'm buying, and I like this thing, I value it more than the money I have, because it's a free exchange. So when you go to the bar, you pay €1, the barman give you a coffee. For you, the coffee is worth more than €1, and for the barman the opposite is less, and for the barman is more. So yeah, all these things, now it's through some legal processes, all this freedom is getting, they're kind of taking more and more away. And then you have a few other effects. So bailout is when basically you have these big banks and someone like the government have to save them, because when they go to bankruptcy, especially if they are too big to fail, the government prints more money and save them. And this is, of course, bad, because when you save a bank by printing all this money, again, you are reducing the purchasing power of all of us, the normal people that have the money in their pockets, and the same money are gonna have less purchasing power. And then Cantillon effect, which is very linked. So it means that the ones that benefit more from the printing of new money are the ones that are closer to the printing machine. Which means that, again, with the same example of the bank, who gains from this situation? Of course, the bank, because they, knowing that someone is gonna save them if they behave badly, they can behave in this way. So they can do super risky stuff, maybe not very ethical, and so on. And then if everything goes well, they make huge profits. If everything goes bad, they're gonna be saved. So they have their incentive is to risk as much as they can, and then eventually someone's gonna save them. And yeah, so Cantillon effect means that when you print money, so there is a first individual or entity that takes this money, so it has more money than before, which is of course nice. And then the more you go, it's like a drip in the water, right? The more you go, the outer you go from the center, the more you're gonna feel just the bad effect of less purchasing power, and you're not gonna feel any benefits of the new money printed. So I know it's a lot of concepts. I have to go. I'm already taking too much time. I have to go faster. So eventually, maybe at the half, you can make some question, or we can discuss about these things. I love to discuss about these things, so you can imagine. So we can have a chat also later. So besides of these purely economical problems, our economical system have another huge problem, which is financial exclusion. In the world, there are still in the order of billions of people that cannot have a bank account because they maybe live in a poor country where banks have no interest to create a business there. Maybe they live in a country where there is no registry for people, so they don't have documents, and without documents you cannot open a bank account. Then there is this thing, remittances. I don't know, you probably, some of you, maybe the foreign guys know what is it. It means that when you are an immigrant in another country, you often send money to your family, which is still in your original country. This is called remittances. And it's like, now it's a 1 trillion business. So there is $1 trillion going from Western countries to these poorer countries. And this money are managed by a few companies, maybe you know Western Union, MoneyGram, these guys. They take from 5 to even in some cases 30% of commission on that payments. Plus, if you live in, let's say, Nigeria, and you have to go to the Western Union office, which is maybe 5 hours by walk from your village, you go there, you take the cash, and then someone is waiting for you with a big knife out of the office and say, what you did there? Maybe you have some cash, and maybe I want it. And then last thing, I already mentioned before, is censorship. So there is money is now a weapon, let's say, to cut some people or even some countries. How like we can see also from recent events. You can like completely isolate people or countries from the whole system, and monitoring what they do with the money you control. So Bitcoin is a great alternative to this, because it's not it's like a peer-to-peer system, which means that there is no central entity which rules everything, which decides for the others, but it's a network of nodes, and by node I mean just a PC like this with a software inside that is keeping running all the time, and basically the like storing the information of all the transaction that happens in the network to keep it. So today I'm gonna skip all the technical things. Also, as we already said, we're not focused on investments, financial stuff. We just want to focus on more the let's say social and somehow also economical and cultural aspects of Bitcoin. That's what I think it's most interesting and more important for designers. Yeah, so okay, so in the traditional way, you would have Alice that want to send some money to Bob, and he has to ask to his bank to send some money to Bob's bank, but in the middle there are so many intermediaries, and everyone, both the banks and the other intermediaries, they of course take a percentage on that transaction. So the transaction turns out to be super, like, compared to what you can do with Bitcoin, is typically slow and expensive. Bitcoin, it's a peer-to-peer network again, so Alice can send money to Bob without any intermediaries in the middle. And this means, so there are few ways to send Bitcoin. There are a few different protocols. Some are a bit more slow and expensive, but more secure. Other are super fast and almost free. So you have different trade-offs. But in general, we can simplify and say that you can move Bitcoins basically for free, instantly, directly, without any intermediaries between you and the receiver. So, and about printing, you can think that in the fiat system, you have only one entity that can print money. With altcoins, or shitcoins, as we like to call them, which are basically all the other cryptocurrencies. And later I'm going to also spend a few minutes on this difference. With other cryptocurrencies, everyone can print. So you can create your own and start creating money out of nothing. With Bitcoin, no one can print, because Bitcoin has a limited and completely scarce, let's say finite offer, which is 21 million. That's it. And the production of this Bitcoin started in 2009, and it's gonna end in 2140. And it's like asymptotical production, so you produce more at the beginning and then less and less and less. So now we have already 20 out of 21 millions of Bitcoin already produced, and we are going to produce the next 1 million in 120 years by some mechanism called mining that we, of course, are not going to dive now. So is Bitcoin the best form of money? Yes, but depends on which aspect you consider. So money needs to have these three characteristics. I mean, no, it has to how can I say, to solve these three problems. So first of all, and they are one dependent to the other. So first of all, needs to be a store of value. So it means that the asset price it's going to be at least the same, if not more, in the future. And that's needed for saving, because when you are saving, you're basically taking a part of what you produced that you don't need now, and you say, I want to keep this part that is like more than I need now, and but I want it in the future. So I need to have something, a good, that is able to keep this value during time and space. Then, if you manage to find, and of course, store of value famous ones are gold. You had in the past many other goods that were used as money. So, for example, salt was used as money, or shells in very primitive tribes. Okay, so when this good is effectively working as a store of value, then it can become a medium of exchange. And it means that being so good in maintaining its value, basically everyone wants it. So money is the most desired good in the market, because everyone accepts it and everyone gives you something for it. So it's always better to have money instead of some other. I mean, if you are starving, probably you want some food, but with money you can buy the food. And then last thing is unit of account. Unit of account means that this form of money can be used to define prices. And why it's so bad Bitcoin now on unit of accounts? Because it's great as a store of value. Like, we can discuss as much as you want, but it's basically the best way for saving that the humanity ever created, because it's the only thing that is completely scarce besides the time you live. You can say like this. But it's still not a very good medium of exchange, because probably you have noticed that if you go to the bar, they don't accept Bitcoin. And still there are very few merchants and companies that are working with Bitcoin and accepting Bitcoin as a for payments, and therefore it's still not a very good. It's like a terrible unit of account, and it's also because it's being so new as a thing. Volumes in terms of investments are still very volatile. So the price is volatile because investments are still not much compared to like gold or stocks or commodities or other asset classes, and therefore like you have more volatility, because if someone sells his position or whatever, it's gonna influence a lot the market. So you still see a lot of changes in the price, big changes, and this is of course bad if you want to have prices in Bitcoin. If I don't know, a bar want to have all these prices in Bitcoin, it would have to change prices basically every day, because the coffee price is gonna be, one day it's I don't know, doubled, and no, double is of course too much, but it can change a lot. Okay, so another very important thing is that Bitcoin didn't came out of nothing. It's like the result of decades of studies in many different areas, like cryptography, like economy as well, and so it's again, it's not someone that came out with this idea out of nothing, but it's many people, and probably this guy Satoshi Nakamoto that you see, which is the anonymous creator of Bitcoin. It's probably not even a person; it's a group of people. Like, we don't know, no one's know. There are a lot of stories that pretend to know who Satoshi is, but it's basically all bullshit. And yeah, so as you can see, there are many steps that make us arrive to this discovery, because it has been the discovery of the scarcity in the digital world, where everything can be copied and pasted. But with Bitcoin, it's not possible, and you have completely finite good. And you have mainly these two main let's say, cultural fathers of Bitcoin. On the economical side, you have the Austrian Austrian economist, which maybe you have heard Hayek, Mises. There are a bunch of them, and it's a movement that started, let's say, end of or beginning of the 20th century, let's say, and it's kind of a it's very against all the collectivism ideas, and it's kind of review the classical economics theories, for example, from Smith, in a more, let's say, mature way. And these are the main pillars. So free market, like they are so against inflation, debasement of the money. There is this super famous book, The Denationalization of Money from Hayek, which is the third point. And then a very, very important thing, the subjectiveness of value. So there is no fixed prices. Marx used to say that the value is correlated to the work, but it's kind of false. It's actually totally false, because when you, let's say, for example, let's take water. Water now, this bottle of water costed 50 cents at the machines. But if you go to the airport, it costs €5, let's say 3 euros. If you're in the middle of the desert, it's gonna cost 20 euros maybe. Or if you are under a flood, you're gonna pay someone to bring water out of your house. So there is no intrinsic value of water. Intrinsic value is like a bias, is totally bullshit again. And value is completely subjective. It depends on the subject and on the context. And you can attribute more value to something that I don't even consider, and the opposite. So prices are completely, again, they can change based on situations. And on the cypherpunk side, you have so cypherpunk is this movement made of mathematicians and computer science guys, and they were active at the end of 20th century, and they were worried about the direction of this world, especially on the surveillance that was more and more in place, especially using information technologies that were rising in that period. And so they started to think about having this idea of cyberspace, which is this new world based on internet, in particular, not only, but in particular, where you can be free, as long as you don't link your cyber identity, let's say, to your physical one. You can be free in the cyberspace. Say what you want, do what you want if it's doable with a PC, and yeah, you are not going to have any consequences in the physical world. And then, of course, they believe on decentralizations. They are behind many technologies like Tor, maybe you know, or Torrent for downloading files. All the freedom technologies or decentralized networks, they're not all made by them, but at least inspired by this culture. And individual action, of course, it's also another important point. So they believe that instead of going to the squares and praying the government to give them some rights or some economical helps, whatever, they write code. So the motto of cypherpunk in the cypherpunk manifesto, it's a cypherpunk write code. So we don't complain, we don't again ask to someone to give us something. We write code, we create tools, and we get more free by the tools we created, which of course we give for free to the world. And why privacy is so important? So it's like the main topic of this Cypherpunks manifesto, which I strongly recommend to read. It's a 2 minutes read, awesome. And what is privacy? Privacy always is often linked to you know, secrecy, or like the common question is, why do you want privacy? What are you hiding? Are you a criminal? What are you doing? That's of course another very stupid thing. So you can imagine, I think, many situations where you have something to say. Maybe you just, I don't know, broke up with your girlfriend or boyfriend, and you're not going to say things to the first guy that you met in the bar. You're probably saying these very intimate and private things to a very close friend or to your mother, I don't know. And it's basically the same. It should be the same in the digital world as well. It's crazy that if I text on some very intimate and private thing, there is someone that can read these chats. This is not very like nice. So all these things that we are starting to say about, let's say, a kind of a political view of the world that is linked to Bitcoin, like, to don't have any doubts about Bitcoin being like the tool to create this vision, or at least one of the tools to create this vision. It's what Satoshi wrote in the first Bitcoin blockchain block, which is called Genesis block. And basically, he took the title of the Times newspaper of that day, which was 3 January 2009, when the title says let's say the chancellor of England is saving another bank, as I was saying before, another bailout. And so he put this title as a, let's say, in a provocative way in the block. So, as I was saying, this is the common view of the crypto world. So you have a lot of different currencies with cool logos, and most of the people, they invest in this money based on how cool is the logo. And Bitcoin is the bigger, so the one with the more volumes, the older. And actually, many times you're gonna hear that being the oldest, it's kind of like, you know, it's not super efficient. It's not the best technology possible. There are other blockchains that are faster or greener, another fun thing. And yeah, so you have this like mess of everything together. But reality is this. So Bitcoin is, I think, like completely separated and different from other crypto. Other crypto, they basically just share somehow, not even precisely, some technical aspects. Like, for example, they all use this blockchain to store data. But as we said before, they solve completely different problems, and other crypto are like super. They are business projects. They are run by companies. So you have like few people that decides what to do, and it's even worse than the system that we are living on right now for some aspect. For some other is better, depends. For sure, Bitcoin in this sense is the freer. So again, it's not a company. Bitcoin is just a protocol. It's an open source protocol. It's just like TCP/IP or HTTPS that you see when you write a URL. So it's there. It's free. Everyone can go there, take it, copy it, create a new Bitpolito coin if you want. But then you will see that no one is gonna buy it probably. And this is, of course, it's a strength in terms of being very hard to be attacked. It's very hard, like we can say impossible to control, because I just download a copy of the code and I can have it on my PC, and that's it. There is no like automatic updates like on Android or iOS systems. So the software is on your machines, and it's only yours. The downside of this, and here comes the design challenge also, is that there is no marketing office. So what you hear on Bitcoin outside the Bitpolito lessons, it's mainly bad news. Bitcoin is is like a thing for criminals. It's useless. It's a Ponzi scheme. You should stay away. Even now, when there are basically all the banks that are buying Bitcoin, they're still saying to you, hey, "Yeah, we're buying Bitcoin, but you keep that euros or dollars on your wallet and don't mind. It's a dangerous thing." So like it's completely the narrative on Bitcoin is completely faked by mainstream medias. Other false myth. Okay, it's used only for speculation, or it's a Ponzi scheme. Even if it was a kind of short presentation, I hope that I made you understand that it's a tool for freedom. It's not about speculation. Like at a certain point, you will even stop considering the price, because the very important thing is that I can send value from me to you without anyone saying you can or you cannot. That's it. So how much that coin values in euros, on dollars, it can be almost irrelevant at a certain point. It's used by criminals. That's completely false. Of course, cash is way more used. It's way harder to trace a bag full of cash compared to Bitcoin, because you have the public blockchain where everything is written. So it's not super like it's if you want to make big crimes, it's way better to use cash and to have a friend in the bank that can cover some affairs rather than using Bitcoin. And boils the ocean. Sorry, this is a meme, and in general, it's there are so many critics about how much Bitcoin pollutes. It uses more energy than I don't know, like Spain, Portugal, and France together. You often hear these kind of titles on the newspaper. Well, it's again very misleading and false, because yes, it uses a lot of energy, but using energy doesn't mean wasting energy. So, for example, till like at least 2 years ago, in the world there was more energy used for Christmas lights than Bitcoin. So you can argue which is a waste, Christmas lights or peer-to-peer network to share, to exchange value. Like, it's kind of, again, it's subjective. Maybe you love Christmas and you value more that, but you cannot argue that it's a waste. And right now, like more than 60% of the energy that you use to mine Bitcoin, it's green energy. It's renewable. It comes from renewable sources, and that's because, as you can maybe see in the picture, like they are building like maybe small domes or solar panels or whatever form of energy, because miners, they want two things: powerful computers and cheap energy. And cheap energy, it's very often you can find it in like in places that are far away from cities, because cities you have the big demand, and electricity you cannot move it on long distances. And therefore, if you manage to go in these places, like you find a dome in the mountains or other form, like ideally you can create a nuclear power implant in Antarctica and maybe mine Bitcoin there with that power, so you don't even have the danger of the explosion of the reactor. Doesn't matter. So the point is that wherever there is some waste of energy or cheap energy to use, then the Bitcoin miners go. In terms of usability, it started as a super hard thing to use, so you can be like don't have regrets on not buying Bitcoin like 15 years ago. If you are a designer, you were probably weren't able to do it anyway, even if you know it. Then from the command line, it started to have apps with graphic interfaces, and now what we also want to do here in this competition is to think about advanced and more pleasant experiences that we can create around this technology. So new ways that are more convenient, cooler in some ways, to interact with money, that can do many more things compared to the physical cash, of course, and they can be also way more free for sure, and also more programmable than the classic fiat digital currencies. So you let's kind of simplify, you can have two types of wallet. The wallet is basically where you so I'm saying a very wrong thing technically, but let's say the wallet is the where you have your money. Actually, it's not. Let's say the correct way should be the wallet is just a pair of key. The key is similar to a password, and it's made out of 12 or 24 words. Okay, so you have these words. Let's call it seed phrase, or just seed. So once you have the seed, you have the right to spend some bitcoins that are, let's say, they stay on the blockchain. The blockchain says, okay, these guys have X, the other guys have Y, and so on. So you just have to identify with your keys, say, hey, I'm the guy, and then you have this pseudonym, let's say, I have the right to spend this money, I want to send 1 Bitcoin to my friend there, and he gave me the address, and you do like this. And you interact with your Bitcoin basically, like, could be other ways, but you can have a desktop app, eventually with this little thing here, which is called the hardware wallet. This is from Bitbox. We're gonna see it a bit better later because it's one of the sponsors. Or on a mobile app, which is super easy. It's like even easier. It has less features than Satispay or Revolut or whatever you're using. And it's like, many people, you know, they say, oh, Bitcoin is complex, I cannot use it. Like, if you today use, I don't know, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, Bitcoin is actually 10x easier to use. It's just 2 buttons, receive, send, scan a QR code, send an address or the opposite, and that's it. The only very important thing, and we're gonna see it in the third track, is how do I protect these 12 words, this seed? How do I store it? How do I avoid to lose it, that someone steal it, and so on. This is a very important point. So we go to the challenge itself. I don't know if anyone, I know it was a lot of things all together. I try to wrap up as better as I could, but you of course have many doubts. If you want to make some question now, so, or maybe later, and I go on as you want. Too many doubts that would take too long. Okay, let's go. So as I was saying before, to someone, we launched this challenge because Bitcoin right now is still it's still considering that it's actually still is kind of a nerdy thing, from a visual point of view, from a design point of view, the industry is still very poor, and it's normal because it's super new. It started, of course, as a super technical thing, and you needed, of course, developers, cryptographers, and people like this to make it grow. But now we reached a point where if we want to have this economical alternative used by the whole world, let's say, we need to start to communicate it properly, and creating services, products, experiences that are, let's say, nice and easy and affordable for everyone. So that's the challenge. Let's say the big picture of the challenge. These are so the 2 problems that also, besides this challenge, if you somehow are gonna get interest more and more in Bitcoin, like these 2 things probably are gonna start to be the problems that you think about most of the time, and yeah, it's great because basically all the world suffers from these things, and Bitcoin is a concrete technology that you can work on, and you can feel to be part of this revolution and this social change. And as I was saying, I think this starts to be like, let's say, not mine or in general Bitpolito's view on the things. Like, as you can see, we didn't pick the classic orange on black palette with this nerdy cypherpunk graphics, you know, the walls of 0 1s going down. No, we choose the cows and white and blue, which is the opposite in the color wheel of orange and black. And we wanted to have a attractive and friendly branding, especially exactly for these reasons. Like, we don't want we want to stop to be considered the like nerdy, shady guys. Like, Bitcoin should be the free money, and on the other side you have the controlled and tyrannic money, and that's the idea that we should bring to the people. And so instead of like, it still needed education and explanation, as I briefly tried to do before. But in general, depending, of course, also on what you are working, of course, you need to then study it more. But like, how many people use internet now? Like, almost everyone in the world. How many people knows how internet works? Like, a insignificant percentage of the users. And it should be the exact same with Bitcoin. So we need to have millions or billions of people using it, but just a few that really understand how it works. For the majority, it just need to be better as a solution for their problems, full stop. And so services, good services, and beauty, let's say, it's way more effective compared to explanation, especially if we talk to masses. And another important guideline that would be very nice if you are able to follow during the challenge is that, for the reason I mentioned before, we want to keep simple the communication, but without losing or in like forgetting our values. So we need to create, for example, a solution with privacy, but we don't want to be boring and say, oh, yeah, you know, like everyone is surveilling you, we live in a matrix. Like, people is gonna think that you are crazy and say, fuck you, I live my life as I was doing, I'm fine, I don't want to see this bad problem. So we need to have this balance, you know, between keep the message simple and strong, but still have the values that arrive to people and the whole vision, let's say. These are from a technical standpoint, so it's particularly needed if you plan to do a product or a service, especially services, I would say. These are the unique characteristics that Bitcoin has compared to fiat currency. Backed by energy, unconfiscable, absolute scarcity, instant free transaction, and highly divisibility. It's very linked. So there is this macro trend of microtransactions that we're gonna see also later, which is awesome. Like, it's with Heroes, you cannot send in few seconds tiny parts, less than 1 cent to someone. It's impossible. And even you cannot make a wire transfer of 10 cents. They're gonna say, okay, the minimum is, I don't know, 1 euro, 5 euro, 10 euros, whatever. With Bitcoin, you can spend like super small amounts of money instantly, and this is very useful for use cases where you have these so micro payments that you can do, you can settle at the time instead of accumulating them. Have a look again. If you have some question, doubts, tell me later or on the group. I will be super happy to give you more information. Let's go to the tracks. So we are almost there. So the first track is attract newcomers. Then into daily life, easily Bitcoin. First one, like the goal of this track is to find it's the more generic and free, let's say, track, where you can do, like in all the tracks you can do both communications project, product project, or services, whatever you want. And again, for the first track, the goal is to attract newcomers. So it means that you have to find a original and attractive way to make people come into the space. So it doesn't need to have a specific call to action. It can be also a generical one. If it's easier for you, you can maybe also think about can be a promotion for the sponsor itself, which, by the way, I'm gonna present. So, no, it's on the other PC. Do they? Okay. Okay. So ZBD, it's a SDK. So it's a piece of software that game developers can integrate in their software to allow Bitcoin transaction inside games. And in particular, of course, it's these microtransactions. So a project they made them kind of famous, let's say, was the CS:GO. Do you know CS:GO, the shooting game for PC? So they create a copy of it because it's open source, and they integrated Bitcoin payments. So you to join a game, you put some Bitcoin. When you kill someone, you gain money. When you die, you lose money. So if you're addicted to video games, you can imagine how addictive it's gonna become. So they do these things here, and again, this is, I think, a perfect example of how you can attract newcomers that are just video game lovers to start having their first Bitcoin. It can be a multiplayer game, but there are many other games that, for example, like card games that you play solo, and you know, they make money out of ads on the game, and they give you a tiny percentage, so you can earn some Bitcoins just by playing. And yeah, of course, there are many ways you can like the goal here of the track is especially this, like thinking how you can find a new first touch point for new people to start using, or at least having an interest to know more about Bitcoin. Okay, so you have the target. This is a overview of the problems and some solutions that are maybe they are more ideal. Some are very practical. It's don't like stick too much on this. It's all this track is just to give you I would say maybe like an inspiration or a guide to follow, but like you don't need to stick 100%. You don't need to solve all these problems. Of course, you can even focus on one specific thing, and it would be amazing as well. I want to show you this spot from a bad company, but it's very cool.
Get a job, save a little, take out
Audio.
a mortgage, buy a house. Get a job, save a little, take out a mortgage, buy a house. Get a job, save a little, take out a mortgage, buy a house. Get a job, save a little, apply for a mortgage, get a second job, get some roommates, rent a house. Realize the only generation that's going to fix this is yours, and start building.
No, I wanted to cover the logo. So for the ones in presence, it's that didn't hear, it was maybe you understood from the video. So in the 50s you can buy a house very easily. 70s, 80s, 90s. Now, as many of you probably are experiencing, you struggle to pay a room in a house with 5 people, and you need 2 jobs, and it's getting harder and harder to live a decent life. Like we have a lot of problems in even, I don't know, think about making a family. It's started to be a like kind of a utopian thing. Seems like impossible, and that's the problem. That's why we need to update the system. And the other thing is this another case study that I selected is this piggy bank. So this is thought for a child. You have this piggy bank. You send some bitcoins to it, and the child can see his savings there. So it's another way to attract a new target, which are kids. It's also there are a lot of projects on kids. It's also a cool let's say direction that you can take with your project. Second is the second track is about into daily life. They are, I know, kind of similar, to be honest, and that's also why I said you don't have to stick 100%. It's more like some direction that you can take. The sponsor for this track is Breeze. They are kind of similar to the guys that we saw before. They also create an SDK, so this piece of software that anyone can integrate in their app to enable Bitcoin payments. So for example, I don't know, Lunga app, they can integrate Breeze, and in the app you will have a wallet, and you can buy, pay, convert money, do whatever you want inside the Lunga app. So with this technology, again, you can think about a new, it's kind of technical, so not maybe check later, but I think that the idea is pretty clear. So here, the goal would be to find some things that you are already doing today and adding Bitcoin payments in that experience. So the target is someone that already have some Bitcoins, but he doesn't know, or she doesn't know where to spend it, doesn't know much what to do. And unless you are super convinced that it's gonna value more and so on, and at that point you don't give a shit about spending it, you just want to keep them. But in general, especially like a certain point, you also, if you are full on Bitcoin, you also need to spend. You need to eat. So you would love to have some places that where you can go and pay your pizza or your kebab, whatever, in Bitcoin. Two examples. Okay, these are all the problems. So habit, as I was saying before, infrastructure. We still miss merchants. So for example, any idea could be how to, maybe this is more linked to the other one, how to attract more merchants, or how do I easily integrate Bitcoin payments into the shops. These are some potential directions. Two case studies are Fountain, which is a streaming platform where you can leave your contents available if you pay a tiny amount of money. And it's very cool because, again, you can send even like, I don't know, 10 cents. You can, just to avoid maybe, I don't know, people that you don't want everyone to watch this content. You want to create this kind of barrier for any reasons. You can do this. You can also give donations to the content creators you like. Again, you don't need to send them 50 euros. You can send a few cents, just almost like a bit more than a like on Instagram, and many other interactions. So this app is aims to give more power and freedom and monetize more to the creator, which is, creator economy is a macro trend, very important. And yeah, right now, like YouTube, Spotify, these platforms, they pay like nothing to the creators. And the other one is called PPQ. I actually was personally building a startup similar to this like 2 years ago, and it's a chatbot, AI chatbot, where you can select all the models you want, and you link your wallet, or you top up the wallet inside the app, and you can use all the AI models you want in a pay-per-use way. So again, microtransaction, you want to do something with I don't know, some models that are not free, or maybe you were working on let's say Google Nano Banana, you were making the image, you finish the daily credits, they say, okay, come back tomorrow, but you have the exam tomorrow and you need this fucking one more prompt. You can go there and pay again 10 cents and have the thing you need. Of course, privately, without any data loss and so on. Final, easily custody. This is about, as I was saying before, to figure it out how to easily custody these 12 words, this seed phrase. It can be something, so again, the target is of course something that already have some Bitcoins, and is wondering how to keep them in a more secure way. Actually, here you see just a little parenthesis. It keeps Bitcoin on an exchange. What does it mean? An exchange, maybe you have heard Binance or Coinbase, the video we saw before, or now there are even, I don't know, Revolut that where you can buy cryptocurrencies there. These are custodial services, which means that if you use Revolut, I guess most of you have used it. You can buy Bitcoin, but you like no one's gave you the 12 words I was mentioning. So how is it possible that you have some Bitcoins without these words? Actually, because you don't have that Bitcoins. It's the same of the digital euros we were saying before. It's just a number on a database saying that Revolut owns you X Bitcoins. But if they for any reason decide to froze your bank account, or I don't know, for any reasons you have some trouble with law, they're gonna shut it down, and you lost all the Bitcoins. Or even maybe, I don't know, you probably never heard about FTX. Was a big exchange that in 2022 failed. So all the customers, and we are talking about like millions of people, they lost all the money because they didn't have a way to recover it because they don't have the seed. And now they are waiting that eventually some, who knows when, they're going to receive some money back, but it's of course a disaster. So you can maybe buy it, even if it's not the best place to do it, some Bitcoin on the exchange, but then you want to take it away and go in that's so-called self-custody. Self-custody means that you have the seed phrase, the 12 words, and you are free, but you also have a responsibility, because no one can take these Bitcoins away from you. But if you lose the words, you are fucked up. You cannot recover the Bitcoins in any way. So it's super important that you find a secure and efficient way to store these 12 words. One way is buying a hardware wallet like Bitbox, and it has this shape which is similar to a USB key, and it basically have a copy of your 12 words inside it. And the point is that instead of taking the PC, open the app and putting my words in the app, which is dangerous because if my computer has been manipulated, maybe there is a virus, there is something that can steal the words from me, and especially like if you are connected on the internet, you are in danger. Let's say like this. And instead of putting the words here, I can use this kind of USB key And what happened is that I create the transaction on the app. The app sends the non-signed transaction to the hardware wallet. Again, I'm kind of simplifying, but and then there, so offline, outside the PC, the transaction is firmed with your private key, with your 12 words, and with that cryptographic way. And then you take the signed transaction again to the wallet, which broadcasts it to the network. So it's a way to store again the seed in a secure way, but it cannot be the only one, because what if you lose it? What if it breaks? You're fucked up. Spoiler. So you need at least 2 backups. So one can be the hardware wallet. It's very convenient if you want to spend, because that's the main point. While if you just want to save, all these sending, signing things that I just said, it's not very needed. Like, you just have to receive, and so you show an address, people send you. Like, you don't have to do much. And especially in that case, what you want to do is just having a physical backup that can be done. Like, the easier way is just to take a piece of paper and write down the words. But of course, again, the paper is not the best way to store it, probably. So people literally got mad in finding out what's the best way to store it. Another important thing: there is no the best way. So in cybersecurity, you always think about threat modeling, which means that your defensive solutions should be designed based on an enemy that you need to defend from. So if you are defending from the CIA, you probably need some advanced technological solutions. If you are a normal person, maybe going back to the example, if you are a kid, maybe you can store your, I don't know, 50 euros worth of Bitcoin in a, of course, easier way. So again, you can, going back to the presentation, you can think about, so this is a like generical target. Actually, again, it's 3055, but if you came up with a again solution for kids, it's gonna be fine as well. You have all this view of problems. This is very useful. Here, I like, you don't need again to solve all the problems, but at least consider it. And these are the 3 main categories of how you can lose your seed phrase and therefore your money. Yeah, based on how much wealth is there, you should consider lighter or stronger solutions. I put a couple of like original way like case study to like hide things. One is this do yourself like rounding cipher, I would say. So have a look. It's cool, and this is a plus for the project. So as we said, we want that the projects reflects the Bitcoin cultures and values. As we said, Bitcoin is very about being open source, free, so everyone can access it, and of course also opting out. And in the case of products, if you are thinking about creating a physical product, it would be definitely a plus if you're thinking about in a way that can be a do-yourself product. Maybe you design the object, and then you can open source the 3D model, so everyone can print it at home and create his own copy. or if they don't want to print it themselves, they pay you and you print it and and ship it to them. But this is the business that you are going to create after the challenge. And the other one, we also made a project with Bitpolito on this, which is still on standby. So another thing, if you eventually are going to join the team, maybe you can help us on this. No. Vabbè, doesn't matter. You're going to check it out later. It's basically a traditional Japanese box that has some different parts that they stay together in a precise way, and in order to open the box, you have to make some moves that otherwise, that if you make them correct, in the correct order, you open the box, otherwise it doesn't open. And so it's, again, maybe you don't store there 10 billions worth of Bitcoin, but it's, again, a nice and especially not obvious place, which is one, of course, of the if you want to protect against thieves, you have to think about, like, you don't want a metal box with a big Bitcoin logo on there, because it's kind of obvious that probably maybe there is something inside. Okay, we're done with the track. A bit of summary of other, let's say, logistical things. We are not too late, great. So now was the kickoff. After now, we still have to define a few groups. There are a couple of people that are still without the group. We're going to do it right after the presentation. And so since, I mean, now, or you are kind of already doing the challenge by thinking of about what I'm saying. So now the challenge is officially open. You have time till next Monday at 4 p.m. to submit a project. They're going to be submitted in the Google Drive. You can create whatever you want. It can be a let's say a artboard, like whatever tool, Figma, Illustrator, whatever format. So it can be a PDF. You can even share the Figma directly if you created a mock-up over an app, whatever you want, literally. Can be videos. If you are going to create a communication project, it can be a video, pictures, whatever. And yeah, so in 2 hours after 4 p.m., we are going to evaluate the projects. And then there will be at 6, also like today, blended, no, sorry, at least one person of each group needs to come here to present the project. And during the presentations, the judges will adjust some marks and make also the presentation itself is a criteria of evaluation. And so we're gonna take like 15 minutes after all the presentation, and we're gonna announce that same day the winners. These are the criteria. So how unique and innovative your idea is. Of course, like, you are kind of new in the space, so we don't pretend that you do something that no one's ever thought. It's fine. On the other hand, maybe ask, just search on Google or ask to some AI that if the thing that you are thinking already exists or not, or how can you differentiate it a bit. Like, try to don't come out with something that it's already marketed. Impact, so how strong, and also how wide the target audience can be, how helpful it can be for them, and that's it, and so on. Strategy, so this is it should be called not really strategy, but more like design thinking. We want to see design process that brought you to that solution. So with what you consider in terms of requirements, in terms of what did you analyze about the target? Also why not some competitors? So all the strategical and thinking that brought you to that solution. And final, the presentation. These are the jury's members. So it's 4 great designers and me, which like I studied product design, but I don't consider myself like, I don't know, at least not like them. Yeah, so 2 are Italians, Pietro and Andrea. They are not Bitcoiners. They're not in the space. They are new, just like some of you. I mean, most of you. Yeah, they have their own design studies. So have a look and try. This is in general, generic thing, like try to get in touch, because it's nice if you're a designer. Both, of course, to have one more project in your portfolio, but also to create network with great professionals. Then we have Steven. He worked in big companies as an innovation manager, and now when he fall in love with Bitcoin, he started to help several projects on the design part. And then Jones, he's a visual designer mainly, but is very eclectic, and he travels all around the world, and it's a super cool guy. So also, and these 2, they are the Bitcoiners. So if you have like they of course can give you awesome advices. I also would be available as and I also would be a judge. I will be a bit more present. Let's say we have I'm creating this internal calendar with all the judges, which are also doing mentoring. So when you have some doubts or you want to do a review of the intermediate review of the project, you can. Don't ask, please, 10 reviews. But of course, we are very open to help you. If there is some of the judges that have given the availability in that slots, or I also let you know which are the slots of each judge, so you can talk with them. Otherwise, I will be a bit more flexible. I, of course, know at least all the things you need to know for the challenge about Bitcoin. So if you have some technical questions, or if you want to evaluate the direction you are taking is nice and interesting, let's have a quick call. Just write on the group, and we will schedule it. So I said you can do basically whatever you want in terms of deliverables, product, service, or communications. Groups, 2 or 3 people. Someone is also playing solo, which is okay. And communication, we have the Telegram group. If you're not still inside, join right now. And then, so we're going to organize there everything, announcements, help requests, whatever you want. And then we will upload on Google Drive the deliverables. Prices, you know, it's 200, 300, 400 euros in Bitcoin paid by the sponsors. So eventually you're going to set up your first Bitcoin wallet. We can help you also on that. And plus, there is a Bitbox. 1 Bitbox for each, not for each member of the team, but for team. So you will need to figure it out how to split things. You cannot have half of the other wallet, unluckily. So someone can have money, the other can have the Bitbox. You will figure it out. And some other resources. I did a speech in Prague about communication and marketing, especially if you're, well, I would say it's useful in general. It's less than 20 minutes, so you can have a bit more ideas on the state of the art of Bitcoin communication and marketing in general. And then there are these 2 websites, particularly useful if you are working on on some services because they are more focused on UX UI, but you can find actually information that are useful for almost everything you want to do. So of course I'm gonna also export and share on the drive this presentation, so you have all the information, the links, whatever, and that's it. So follow us if you don't follow. So let's raise up these followers. And again, thank you for the attention, and good luck and have fun. Maybe let's wait 1 minute if there are some questions from home. Otherwise, we can go have dinner or the aperitivo. Mi voglio doxare tutto qua.
I have a question.
Go.
No, quello piccolo.
Già.
My question was about hardware wallet and keeping your Bitcoin on your computer. There is the TPM2 module, which is usually used to keep like keys and like the Windows license is kept there. Is there any way to like have your Bitcoins, your phrase kept secret there, like to have it on your device, but at the same time secure?
So let's say yes. As I said, there is no perfect solution. What you can do, for example, is creating like a ciphered file that you can have a cipher key outside and use it to make the file unreadable, even if some hacker get into your PC. But yeah, let's say, so if you're good in computer science, you can find pretty good solutions. If you're a common person, which typically just write it down on notes, no, it's way better to write it down on a piece of paper. Maybe we have some technicals here, so you can deep dive. These technical solutions. Of course, yeah, you can. If you have knowledge, you can come out with also some project that brings technical elements. But of course, it's a design challenge, so we expect projects to be more original in terms of maybe, I don't know, visual or shape or whatever, instead of like technical features behind. Yeah, take the mic.
So basically, the easiest solution that you can keep your seed phrase on a computer without being worried about it getting leaked is encryption and decryption. So if you're keeping it, definitely at some point you have to memorize or write down something that no one knows about your seed phrase somewhere. The most easiest way is to keep your seed phrase, add another passphrase like your usual password, not your usual password, of course, but shorter password like a 1 or 2 word password that only you know. Encrypt your seed phrase with that word. You sum those together and hash them together. So after you encrypt them, if somebody opens that file, they'll see just random numbers and letters. So technically, they cannot understand what that file is, if it's an important thing or it's just random data. But since you know the passphrase, you can decrypt that, use that, and again encrypt it. So even if the whole file gets leaks, because nobody knows the password you have used to encrypt that, nobody can use that.
I forgot the term encryption. I'm a bit tired. That's why the explanation wasn't clear.
I also have a second and last question.
No, go on.
Which is about euro, the digital euro that Europe it's creating and started to actually use in some countries like France and like Germany, if I'm not wrong.
There's
Which, if I'm not wrong, it's peer-to-peer. At least
you are wrong. Sorry.
there's like a peer-to-peer way to send it from contact
So I
to contact.
saw also abroad that they are using the peer-to-peer term in a very inappropriate way. I was in Uzbekistan on September. I saw a digital bank doing this. So basically, imagine Satispay. When you send money to another person, so that same experience, they call it peer-to-peer, because I'm sending from my app to your app. But this is completely it's completely mistaken from a technical point of view. So we saw that peer-to-peer means that the network that on let's say below, it's made out of nodes that talk together without any intermediaries. When you send money, like when I send money to you on Satispay, at least there is Satispay in the middle. So digital euro is gonna be, I don't know in particular if they are marketing it like this. It wouldn't surprise me at all. It would be probably done like this. They're gonna sell it as a freer, more convenient, and more efficient because it's a new technology. But it's way worse than the current digital euros that we have, because instead of having multiple private banks that manage monies, you will have the central bank that will directly issue the money you have on your apps, and they can freeze them, they can do whatever they want. There was some part of the code of the digital euro leaked, and they show there are in the code functions, for example, to make a period of time where your money are available. So, for example, you have, I don't know, 1,000 euros that you can spend before the end of the month. So, for example, like now, I need to find some ways to spend it, and I cannot save, or many other crazy thing about money control and surveillance. Some others. Someone can check the chat if there is any question from home. Niente. Okay, thank you everyone, and see you soon.